everybody, get ready for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. We're going to deep dive into everything you need to do to get ready for the hockey season. I want to let you know that this episode is being powered by Hockey Wraparound. Again, full disclosure, I am the owner of Hockey Wraparound, and we make a piece of plastic that you put on the bottom of a hockey stick so you can protect the blade. So if you get a $300 hockey stick or an expensive hockey stick and you're a parent or a kid and you're tired of destroying it, check us out, hockeywraparound.com. Use the code OKPH. At checkout, you get 20% off your purchase. Again, we're #1 ranked on Amazon, and we are the top hockey stick blade protector in the world. But for now, enjoy this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and I'm going to toss it to myself to start the episode. Here we go. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world. Welcome to a very special edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. That's Mike Bonelli and Christie Casciano-Burns. I'm Lee Elias. Today's topic is a big one. This is going to get a lot of listens. Getting ready for the season. It could be this season, next season, whenever you're listening to this. And I'm going to start this episode with a story off that both of these friends of mine do not know about, but it's a perfect story to lead off this episode. The year was 2002. I was a freshman in college. It was early on in the season. I walked into the locker room. My captain was 6'5", big dude. And I remember he sits down, he opens his bag, and he starts pulling out his equipment. And suddenly he pulled out like a straw type thing of some sort, right? I'm like, what is, okay. He goes, what is this? Like, who's putting stuff in my bag? Then he pulled out what looked a little bit like a bird's nest. It was just kind of all crumpled together. And he's thinking, someone's playing a joke on me. And then a little tiny mouse just jumped out of his bag and into the locker room. Now, what was funny about this is two things. One, this guy was gigantic, and he jumped up on the bench. I won't say his name. He jumped up on the bench in the locker room like it was like an elephant in the mouse. Right. And he's screaming, right. And then I remember one of my other teammates got his hockey stick and pinned the mouse down by his tail and started looking around the locker room like, who am I going to wrist shot this thing to? Don't worry, he didn't do it. And then we got the mouse. We let it go outside. But what had happened was he had not checked his equipment bag in some time. And a friendly mouse loved the warm, stenchy area and made his home there. That's going to bring us into our first topic today, which is your equipment. If you're getting ready for the season, you got to check your equipment. Don't just pick up the bag. This is assuming your kid hasn't been playing all summer already. Get your bag, find it, get everything out of there. Look at it for bacteria. Look for it to make sure everything's right. Guys, I'm going to jump you in here. Obviously, you guys have done this more than I have. This episode's going to be a little bit more of me interviewing you guys as my son enters 7U. Sorry, I've been trying to get those right, Mike, ever since that episode we did with the new rules.
Right.
But let's start with you, Christie. The quintessential hockey mom. You've been doing this. What do parents need to know to get their equipment ready for the season?
Yeah, I never found a mouse in the bag. Thank the Lord, I would have died.
It was funny.
That would have terrified me.
It was really funny.
But now is the time. I call it the great dress rehearsal. So you need to pull everything out of that bag. And even though you may have bought equipment in January thinking, okay, the pants are going to last me for 2 seasons, chances are your kid had a growth spurt this summer and those pants are going to be too short. Pull them out. Don't just hold them up to the kid. Try everything on it. I mean, everything, head to toe. Make sure everything fits. Make sure there aren't any big holes. Make sure that it's going to cover all of their skin, because those pucks will find a way to get in there. Even if you think, oh, maybe we can get away. It's just a little short, not too bad. Nope. That puck's going to find a way in there and bruise that kid or injure him even worse. So yeah, this is the great dress rehearsal. Try everything on. And watch for your kids, because this is the time of year when they have the new skate disease. You know what that is?
I do know what that. I get it. I used to get it multiple times a year.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would take the skate. They'd say, "Oh my gosh, I needed a pair of Nike Bauer 650 Vapor C, which cost $857." And don't ask me how I know that price. But anyway. Take the skates to your pro shop and have them look at it. Are these skates too small? Can we get another season out of that? Because they lie, because they want the skates that their friends have, and they will suffer and say, oh my gosh, my feet. No, they're lying. Have them look at it and check it out, because chances are they might not be too small. You might be able to get another season out of the skates, but helmets, shoulder pads, all that stuff. You need to look at it. And this is a great time of year to shop. You may want to check out your Play It Again stores, because a lot of parents now are dumping the old gear. So there's a whole new supply of gently worn, or maybe pretty worn, but durable hockey gear in those Play It Again shops too. And you can get some good deals. And bring your stuff, trade it, get some money for it. Another great idea is for your rink to hold what I call exchange days. So I love when our rink did this. At the end of the season, they would ask all the parents to put their gear that they don't want anymore, stuff that they're going to either trade or, is too small for the kids, in bins. All the bins would be labeled, pants, small, adult, kid, whatever, youth, everything to be in big bins. So you'd find your bin and you'd take the gear. So you got elbow pads that are for, or small elbow pads for your tight, put them in the bin, leave it there. And then when the new season comes, they open it up for parents and they would do another exchange, which is great. You can also turn that into a fundraiser if you wanted for your rig. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me some Krispy Kreme, donut sales to raise money for your team. But this is another option if you're looking for a fundraiser. You can sell the gear for at a low cost and, parents will pay that price and you'll make some money for your organization. Just a couple of ideas to throw out there. What do you think, Mike?
The great ideas. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, you guys got another. I think you got another book in the making. If you give a mouse a dirty old hockey bag, version, I guess. But I have had the locker room experience with the mice, which is I don't know. That might be just a part of the hockey experience, I guess. Maybe for some people, it's
There's
a more
lot of
extreme
mice
than
in the
others.
Northeast United States for all the
Yeah, and if you keep your equipment in the garage, what do you expect's going to happen? So,
right.
So I think, Christie's absolutely right. Just the biggest thing is just getting that when you get the equipment and you get it on, you can't just assume, oh, it looks like it fits them. Their t-shirt fits them. So this fits them. I mean, one of the little things that we do with the skates is you could take the insole out of the skates, and then you have your son or daughter put their foot on the insole. And if their toe is sticking past the insole, the skates don't fit.
That's a great tip.
And it's just, and then you don't have to, because you can't guess, right? You're not a shoe fitter. You're not a professional skate fitter. Just take the insole out. If you see that their toe is no longer ingrained in the indent where it was last year, you probably know you need a new pair of skates. And that, I think, when you look at, when we talked about equipment earlier on, it's, as long as you have, skates and helmets, those are the two things you really got to focus on. To Christie's point, putting the helmet on, making sure the screws are tight, making sure they're there, making sure the neck guard, the neck piece works, and all that kind of neat stuff. I think it's just gives your son or daughter that not only the protection they need, but gives them, they want to have the proper fitting helmet and the gear to get ready for the season. So all those kind of things. I love the equipment swaps. I'm the kind of guy that says, oh, those 4 kids that left the program, I'm going to email the parents and say, hey, you can't use those breezers anymore. You can't use those brand new gloves you bought last year. You can't use that brand new helmet. Would you want to trade it in for a kid that just made our team who might not want to buy, who is growing, right? Because you see these kids. I love tryouts when you start seeing new kids come out and their breezers are on and there's the gap in their leg and their shin guard. And like, oh, no, I guess this guy, he hasn't skated in a while because he has no idea his pants are too short. So I think, all those kind of things you have to try it on though. You can't just look at it and hold it up. You have to give a good dress rehearsal for sure.
Right. And you're so right, because with the pants, that happened to me one year. I didn't even recognize that Joey had grown so much. Right. Wasn't even paying attention. And the coach came over and he goes, have you seen the gap between his shin guards and his breathers lately? Why? He goes, the kid's grown. You need to get new pants.
Right. Safety, comfort, and everything else.
Yeah. And I love the tip about taking the insole out and having your kid that's a great way to test for new skate disease. That's a fantastic tip, Mike. So every parent should be doing that now to see whether or not their kid really does need new skates. Take the insole out, have them step on it. If their toe goes over, then it's time for new skates.
Yeah, or just say, hey, like I do, toughen up. You got 3 more weeks. You gotta get through 3 weeks. That's it.
What's a little blood?
Yeah, how bad?
You're a hockey player,
So
aren't you?
Your toes are turning blue. Get over it.
Like your toenails. All
Yeah.
right. So you're
Cut
right.
your toenails.
No, so these are great tips. A few things. We're going to trademark Christie, the great dress rehearsal. That now is property of Our Kids Play Hockey. No, obviously everybody out there should do that. We've also done a full episode of a head to toe equipment checklist for you at home. If you want that, check out ourkidsplayhockey.com. You can see that episode. Again, we literally go through every piece of equipment and talk about correct fitting, correct sizing. That's something you're going to want to look at. And look, when it comes to new equipment, yeah, look, just make sure it's time. All right, Christie's right. I always wanted new gear. This is where you can play superstitions into your hand. You know, when your kid wants new skates, I don't know. You know, kid, you got 20 goals last year. Those skates, are you sure you need? I will tell this real quick. I do remember. Yeah. You can use that to your advantage if you want to. I do remember one year growing 5 inches, and I thought my father was going to lose his mind because I did have to buy, I think, 2 or 3 pairs of skates legit that season. I mean, I grew that much. It wasn't like a little bit. It wasn't a toenail, Mike. I was growing shoe sizes left and right. So some of you will have to do that. And then obviously with the older kids, your kids know what you need. Know what they need. They will try and get you to buy them new stuff, but again, throw that superstition in there if you have to. Okay, moving on again.
And
go ahead, Christy.
This is a good time to shop because I noticed in our pro shop, they're getting rid of all the old gear to make room for the, out with the old, in with the new. So a lot of the last season sticks and, skates and equipment are discounted, really good price. And they're just as good. It's just, they have to make room for the new brands. It's not that the new brands are really any better, but you can get a great deal on equipment right now.
Christy, I'll say this too, and Mike, you can comment on this if you want to. About 20 years ago, equipment companies figured out, wow, if we just put something out new every year, we'll have something new every year. Whereas when I was growing up, it was the same wooden stick every single year. You just bought the same stick over and over again. This is what I'll tell you, because I do get asked this question a lot. Is the new stick that much better? This is the truth, okay? It's very rare. It does happen that there's a jump in technology sometimes. And trust me, you'll know because every reviewer online will be saying how much better something is. But I'd say 80% of the time, to be fair, the upgrades are very minute and they are not going to make the difference in your kid's season. All right. Now it's up to you as a parent. If your kid really wants a new stick and you want that person to earn that stick, that's up to you. But I'm telling you from my experience, it's very rare that equipment advances to a point so much that your kid's going to need it. The only recent ones I remember is CCM added 3DO stuff into their pads, which is like a little bit of a Play-Doh type material. That was a massive advancement. Okay. That was something I said, okay, that's way more protective than what we've been using in the past. It was well documented. Also, every NHL player was using those pads suddenly. Those are the types of things that I look for, not the brand, the technology behind it. So just so you know, as parents, when the Nexus Bauer N2 comes out and there was a Bexus Bauer N1, they're probably the same stick with a 2 on it.
Right.
It's very different that they change those things up. I just wanted to note that.
And speaking of sticks, you also have to do the nose check, make sure that the stick is the right height for your kid too.
Yeah, your coach
may
will
have
if you
to.
Yeah,
they will. Yeah. And Mike, how do you feel about expensive composite sticks for the little ones? I see so many kids out there with sticks that are over $200 and my eyes just bug out. I can't believe it. They really need that kind of a stick at that.
I'll tell you what, Christy, if they get them, they better protect them. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well, and they just don't. They don't perform the way the stick is made to perform. I mean, I will say that the newer stick technology that's there, you really need to focus on the way that it's more important that the player has good technique and knows how to shoot well than have this technology that's supposed to help them. But if they're a poor shooter and have poor technique, the technology won't help them anyway. So I think for the little guys, it's so much more important to have a forget about a composite stick, but a balanced stick for them and a blade that fits them. So the shaft and the blade that fits that player. It could be wood. I mean, there's no problem because they're not flexing the stick anyway. When you're looking at a 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, now they get a little stronger and they want to get that flex in there. I think I always go with the pro guys, teachers, and would say that the more flex, the better. You want that player to feel they can move that stick a little bit. But I think it's really a matter of, is it the correct shaft size, not an adult shaft, these little tiny hands, and having the right blade size to go along with that stick are more important than composite, wood, fiberglass, whatever it might be. You just need to be in a situation where you have the right fitting stick as opposed to the the right technology in a stick.
Right. How much should a parent spend on a stick? Let's say your kid is 7, 8 years old. How much should they spend versus the older kid?
$98. I
Okay.
mean, basically, you can get, I mean, and I think to your point, those secondhand sticks, the kids will grow out of a stick before they will wear out a stick, right? You'll see that, especially the younger kids, like the 12Us and the 10Us, like they're trying to break their sticks. Like, I don't want this stick anymore. I've had it for 3 years. But sticks are made so well right now for younger kids, and so are skates, by the way. You go out and get a pair of top end skates, you're going to buy those top end skates in the secondhand store. They're still top end. They don't break in like, when Lee was growing up and I was growing up, those skates would break down much quicker.
Very quick.
These skates don't break down. I mean, I know my own kids, I don't buy new skates, although I'd love to, but there's no reason to. They're going to outgrow them in 5 months, and you want them to outgrow them. I mean, you want to grow with them, and you never want to be at a point where you're like, you just got to get through the season, because that's just, if you're taking power skating lessons and skating lessons and shooting lessons, then you're just you're deterring their development because they're not in the proper sized equipment.
Right.
I'd rather have a cheaper stick, a cheaper pair of skates that fit properly, that you go through more of, than trying to stick them in something that looks great and glitzy but doesn't perform the way they need it to perform.
Excellent.
And it is. I mean, hockey gets a bad knock.
Yeah.
Everything's so expensive. Mike, the saying, you see it all the time, right? Oh, I can't do that. My kids play hockey. Oh, I don't go on vacation. My kids play hockey. But I don't think that's true. I think it's
Right.
fine value, fine good. The equipment is so well made. It's actually too well made. So well made, it's going to last through different reiterations of kids. So if you have an organization like you're talking about that has a swap, get those elbow pads. They're in great shape, and use them again for the younger kids. And I think that's there's no reason why a young 8U, 7U, 6U kid should be spending $500-$600 on equipment every year. None.
I really encourage organizations to have the equipment swap too, because you know what else is great about that is you bring your kid with you and they have the opportunity to try that gear on. I mean, I remember Sophia was having a heck of a time trying to find a pair of pants that just felt right. Nothing really felt right. We went to one of those equipment exchange programs, and we were able to actually try on all different styles and different sizes. And we finally found a pair that fit perfect. And, she got 2 years out of it, and it was super cheap. In fact, I think it was free. They didn't even charge me for it. So if you're listening right now, your organization, your rink, you would do parents such a great favor by organizing an equipment exchange program now, when parents are looking for, deals, and you have some free time, you get a little more extra time in the summer, and your kids are free, they're not in school, you can bring them to wherever you hold it, if it's at the rink or the school. This would be a great time to do that for your parents right now, to help them save some money and get the kids all set for a new season.
Yeah, and a couple of quick notes obviously are, especially if you're listening to this episode, it's 2021. Make sure that you clean your equipment pretty thoroughly this year. Get in a bathtub and disinfect it for obvious reasons. But these are great tips. Like you said, you can go to your rink, talk. Your pro shop guy might have a problem with it, but invite them to be involved, okay? Because everyone's going to need something new. But a couple of quick notes on this, because again, I'm the younger parent here in terms of getting my kids stuff. Look, I use this as an opportunity, and I'm going to preface this with saying this is very hard, what I'm about to say. And I don't want parents to think I'm not acknowledging that. I know what it's like when your kids want something new and you want to please your kids. It's hard. It's hard for me when my son wants something new, but I use this as an opportunity to explain, look, sometimes it's good to be frugal. Sometimes it's good to save money. You want this, you don't need this. Those types of lessons are really important right now to me. And it's cool because I'm also setting this up so my son's equipment is going to go to my daughter, and my daughter's very excited about that. Like, I get to use my big brother's equipment, so like I'm kind of positioning it that way, if you will, for all of it. But these are some really amazing tips on just equipment alone and getting ready for the season. Was somebody say something?
I mean, haven't you ever read the Magic Hockey Skates? Come on, right. you could convince your kids to put on a pair of skates or gloves or anything. Oh, that who wore those back in the day?
Right.
This person had this leading goal scorer. So I think it's just a matter of if you can't convince a 6-year-old to wear used equipment,
right?
Let's have a conversation. But
yeah.
I think you're absolutely right, Lee. I think the stigma of every kid walking in the locker room and having a brand new stick and a brand new pair of skates and a brand new helmet. I remember, this is a long time ago, but they used to have this equipment company, and maybe they still exist. I'm not even sure. It was called like Santa Clean, where you could put your equipment in this box and
Ozone.
close it up. And there was
Right.
a parent, it was almost like the BMW, certified used car. It was the whole idea was all my equipment's always been in sanitized, this equipment. So I'm selling it, but just understand it's always been through this sanitizing system.
Right.
And I thought that was the coolest thing, because it was almost like, listen, I took care of my gear. I kept it clean. It's especially now, it's even more important than ever. But I'm giving it to you, and I took such good care of it. You're going to get great value out of it.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And don't be afraid, as Mike said, if you know parents with older kids, don't be afraid to call them and ask them if they're willing to part with some of the gear too.
Right. Get it out of the garage.
Yeah, it's a great point. So, look, my final thought on this section of this episode is just, look, there's a parenting opportunity here for you to teach your kids some really great life lessons. I mean, that's something we try and push on this show. Hockey is a vehicle for our growth as human beings. I don't think there's anything wrong with teaching being frugal. And look, if you're one of those parents that wants to buy your kid all new equipment, there's nothing wrong with that either. But make sure your kid understands that they got to earn that equipment, and that you're not just getting it to get it, right? So again, depending on the age level, the last thing I wanted to say, Mike, you said this earlier, was just on new sticks, and Christie, you brought this up too. This is a good gauge, a good bar. All right, if your kid does not have the basics of a wrist shot, slap shot, snapshot, passing, puck handling, the basic skill sets for any piece of equipment, they do not need the top piece of equipment. Okay. When the top piece of equipment, the $300 hockey stick, comes into play, is when you've nearly mastered a skill set. All right. When your kid's taking 10,000 shots, that's when those sticks start to come into the conversation, because now you're getting minute enough with your skill sets that a low kick, a mid kick do make a difference. But when your kid's 10, it does not make that much of a difference. Make sure they can puck handle first. My kid's first stick, wooden with a straight blade. That's what I was taught. It's the best thing to do. They understand how to use their backhand pretty quickly. Again, and evolve from there. All right, we're going to move on to the next topic here. I'll preface this. It's nutrition. Now, none of us are nutritionists, so we're not going to tell you what to eat or how to eat. But one thing I do want to tell parents is to plan ahead. This is the time of year to go to those big box stores, the BJ's, the Costco's. Get yourself the 600 pack of nuts. Get yourself the 600 pack of whatever you need to snack on before hockey. All right. I know a lot of parents, too many parents, and I'm going to I don't mean to be the condescending here, but I'm going to say this. The McDonald's stop is not a great option. It's not good for your kids. It's not good for where you play sports. And we know enough now that that's probably not what you should be doing. Now, with that said, the McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's stop happens because, I don't have anything ready. All right. And that's why you want to prepare now. And that's why you want to go to those stores and make sure that you're stocking up now on those little snacks. Because, practices are either early in the morning or right before dinner, right? Get those little things that your kids can munch on, and that you can give it to them in the car and move forward. That's something I'm going to be doing very soon. Also, it's gone here now, but I've recently invested in a blender. Another really great, easy way to get your kids to eat fruit and good stuff. If you're on the run, you can throw a banana, some blueberries, some ice, and some walnuts into a mixer, and they got to shake right before practice. And it's basically a little meal. So I just want to say, that's on us as parents to just take the extra few minutes to go out and prepare for the season. Because I'll tell you what, once you get into the grind, it's probably not going to happen, right? You just get too busy. But please, for Pete's sake, do not get your kids McDonald's before every game. You're going to be walking backwards if you do that. Christie, Mike, you've been doing this longer than me. Am I right? Am I doing the right thing, or am I just
Who
talking?
knows?
Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Yeah, and always, and think about meal preps too, because you're going to be so busy during the week. For any new parents listening, it is hectic. Kids have to get picked up after school, driven to the rink, no time for dinner. And then they've got to do homework. So it's always good. I would try to prepare meals way ahead of time,
Right.
Something easy, crock pot, invest in a crock pot, moms and
Those are
dads.
awesome.
It's nothing better to come home from a long practice and you walk in and you smell that delicious food and you got a
True.
hot meal already.
Especially in the
go.
winter.
Yeah, absolutely. So start thinking ahead about meal preparations and how to make easy, quick, nutritious meals for your kids. I always would go to the big box stores and stock up on water and the protein drinks, and, be well stocked so that, you're not caught off guard, and you'll have those for your long road trips too. So that's one less thing you have to worry about as you're packing up for a big long road trip, is you've got everything. You can just grab it in your fridge or in your garage, and you're all set to go. This is a good time to start thinking about your budget too.
Right.
Are we going to talk about that in a few minutes, or should we?
We can talk about
address
that
it
now too, for sure. Yeah, I think that's part of nutrition. You got to spend money on the food.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yes. You think about it, gas prices are going up, food's more expensive. Hotel, I don't know what the hotel costs are going to be like this season. And maybe you saved some money last season because you didn't do as many road trips. So set aside money now, so you'll have that budget to tap into during the season, because expenses pile up so quickly. So set that aside. And sometimes your team might come up with a trip that was unexpected, that you didn't budget or plan for. So if you have that money set aside now, it's not going to be so taxing during the year and so difficult, so then you have a little extra if you want to do something fun with the kids too, if you're on a road trip. So, start planning now, start putting money away, so it isn't so difficult for you during this season.
Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying, to echo Christie's point on buying water, just make sure you, as a coach and as a parent, you encourage your kids to drink a lot of water. I mean, they don't need energy drinks. I mean, every nutritionist that we've talked to, or I take a lot of the free resources that are out there. There's so many good nutritional, opportunities for you to even watch and view and follow as a team. I mean, I follow a guy like Jeff Lavecchio, who's out west, and these other guys at Project Hockey, that, all the great trainers and the great skills coaches, nutrition is a big part of what they talk about and building, right? Because it's just, if your body's not ready to be built upon, then there's nothing you can do. I mean, you can go all the private lessons in the world and all the practices in the world, but if they're not, able to recover and gain muscle and gain strength and think and have a brain out there, and they're fatigued, I think, and I think sleep and nutrition go probably hand in hand, as far as how you're planning your day, how you're planning your practices. I know I'm horrible at preparing, like, for that Monday night 8:30 practice. You have a teenager now who can't eat before practice, starving after practice. It's like, it's really a juggling match to say, okay, well, practice is at 8:00 now for your 12, 15, 18 kids. Where do I find the time to eat and not eat, and how late to eat and what to eat? It takes research. You can't just, and I think to Lee's point, it's easy to go to Popeyes and McDonald's and Taco Bell, and because the kids will eat any of that stuff. They don't just eat everything. Right. So it's just like, okay, well, and then you as a parent, you fall into the trap too. So I really try to be conscious of that. But I think everybody knows, when you do this long enough, it's all about preparation. And it's all about rethinking, how you're going to prepare going into the week, knowing that my schedule is going to be crazy, whether you're a hockey parent or not, and being prepared to combat those crazy times and unprepared times.
I mean, even a simple thing is just, getting fruit, cutting it up, putting it in little sandwich baggies, and making it really easy to just grab, and nuts, just all those little, preparations, so that it's just easy, convenient to go for the good, nutritious food instead of all the junk food. So it does take a little bit of work and planning, but definitely will be worth it. Like you said, the kids are going to be dragging if you're, not fueling them the right way. So that's on you, parents.
Right. Look, and I'll add to it saying this, and again, we're all guilty of this. The things we tell ourselves, oh no, we'll get chicken at McDonald's because chicken's good. Look, this is the deal. All right. And this is actually for everybody. I was actually just trying to research this. I can't find the exact stat, but a majority of your weight, a majority of it is due to what you eat. It's not just exercise. Exercise is what you do when you want to get in shape and get strong, but really what you're putting in your body is what creates your weight. That's number one. So that's kids up to adults. Number two, as a parent, and this is tough, guys. Look, I love a good Big Mac. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. But this is the truth. What habits am I teaching my kid? All right. I'm teaching him that he's being rewarded with his hard work with McDonald's. That's not a habit I want him to get into. All right. Or her, my daughter too. All right. So you really got to think about that. And look, one of the things my mother always did, Now, my mother and father both worked, but they kind of alternated their schedules. So somebody was always home. But look, I always wanted the fast food, but my mom always had a nutritious meal for me. And I'm very glad that she did, because it set the habit for me growing up. Now that I'm doing it, I apologize to her weekly now, because I used to fight her on that. And I'm doing it for my own kids. But that's the truth. And look, the truth is this too. There's a lot of 2-parent working households now. There's not someone home just to make the food all the time. But the nice part about living in this time period is there's a lot of great options. We use HelloFresh at my home. HelloFresh, we're open for sponsorships. If you want to jump on this show, I don't know if you're listening or not, but no, we use that at my home, and it's awesome because they send you all the ingredients. They send you the recipe, and it takes 20, 30 minutes to make the meal. And I actually end up saving money because I'm not wasting stuff I'm getting from the grocery store. That ends up being about the same amount of money. Mike, you said about nutrition. There is a wealth of information online. Please use the internet. Find yourself some sources that make sense. They'll tell you what to feed your kid. Last thing on nutrition, something that's changed recently. I don't know if a lot of people have noticed this. If you look at the nutritional facts on anything you buy now, which is something I just got in the habit of doing when I was really becoming an athlete. When I was growing up, the sugar, it would tell you how many grams, but it would not tell you your daily percentage for the longest time. And it was way too high. The government mandated now that be reported. If you look at the nutritional facts on some of your favorite snacks, you are going to be shocked at how much sugar is in these things to your daily value. I'm talking stuff like granola bars being 27% of your sugar intake for the day. All right. Too much sugar is not a good thing. It's not natural unless it's in fruit. Take a look at what you're buying your kids and see how much sugar is in that. That is one of the quickest ways for them to gain weight. And it's one of the quickest ways for them to get out of shape. Teach your kids now how important nutrition is. It's, again, use the superstition thing. You remember I gave you those grapes and those crackers and that really good shake, and you scored 4 goals? Don't you want to keep doing that? Use that to your advantage. Truth is, there's probably a reason that happened. Okay. The better you eat, the better you play. Any final thoughts on nutrition before I move on?
I just want to.
No, those are really good habits, because I see it with my own daughter. Now, before she eats something, she's 19 now. She looks to see what the caloric intake is, how much sugar content. She makes really smart choices based on those labels. So teach your kids to read those labels and understand the importance of what they mean.
Right. Not hard to teach a kid to read a nutritional label, by the way. That's something schools should be teaching, but as parents, you should be doing it too. Mike, go ahead.
Right. And I think just for those team managers out there too, don't always resort to like the pizza party after practice. Right. I think, everywhere I go, it's like every camp, every clinic, every program, every meeting is, okay, we're going to order 16 pizzas. And, you made a great point, Lee, that when you really do the numbers, and I did this with my high school team a couple of years ago, when you really break down the numbers, those 18 pizzas and all the pizza that goes to waste is the same amount of money as getting, fresh made wraps for the kids.
Right.
And they have a variety, because not every kid's going to eat a piece of pizza or
whatever you get them, they're going to eat it. Whatever you get, they're going to eat it. You don't have to be worried about it.
Just if it's money, then take the money, say, okay, this is what it costs. Now go backwards. What can I get that's different than just the 12 pizzas that get delivered to me? And you'd be surprised at how much you could do outside of that. That's really that sets the habits for your young kids to eat well. And and I think there's a lot of peer pressure in there too, because the kids are all together and they all look at what the other kids are eating, and if they're all eating nutritional meals in these meetings and these team functions, it's just going to help you down the road when you ask them to be, have nutritional values.
So, Mike,
right. And I like the fact that the kids are making better choices now. I can't remember. We have this great restaurant called Core Life Eatery, where it's all, whole grains and broth and fresh food. And there were little kids behind me, and all of them were ordering, these fresh tacos and whole grains and quinoa. And I was like, wow.
They know.
This is impressive. So, your kids are more accepting of that. So, and swap out that pizza party for having fresh wraps and, salads. And you may be surprised at how well they receive it. The kids' tastes are changing, and they're becoming more health conscious. So don't be afraid to push them that way.
Yeah, it's a really great point, Christie.
That pizza party.
The kids are on the internet probably more than we are, and they're learning this stuff about how to be a better hockey player. One more quick tip for you hockey coaches and managers out there. It is guaranteed one of the parents on your team is a health nut. All right. I've never been on a team where there wasn't one parent that wasn't a health nut. go up to that person, ask them to be involved. Hey, could you help us plan some of the team meals when we're on tournaments, or maybe after practice, or at least put something together so I can give the parents of what we should give our kids. Usually they'd love to help 9 times out of 10. I'm blessed right now. Our team manager is that person. So she's very health conscious. I actually have already gone to her and asked about some tips on stuff like that. This is all, again, we've done episodes on this. Use the resources at your disposal. Someone on your team probably knows what they're talking about. All right. If you don't, so search that person out and look, stay nutritious. Again, especially at the lower youth levels. This is your chance to create good habits. I know it's hard. I know days are busy. There are solutions out there. I remember one time with the HelloFresh, I had a friend say, well, that's cheating. It's like cheating. I said, what do you mean cheating? They're sending me the groceries and I'm making it. How's that cheating? Well, there's no creativity in that. I said, well, good. You be creative with your stuff. I don't have the time to think about it. Everything I make from this company tastes awesome. So I'm going to do that. But again, you got to find what works for your family.
Shame on you. You're cheating.
Yeah, I know. I enjoy every bite of it too. It's horrible. Okay. Moving on. We talked about equipment. We talked about nutrition. The next one is mindset. Okay. Now this is one of my expertises, and this is one that I want to work on quite a bit. Before the season. Now, during the seasons when the life lessons happen, you can prep your kid before the season to be mentally ready for a season. And we don't do this enough. One of the things I'm really proud of, the team that my son is on, have asked me to do team building events with the team throughout the season, which I'm really happy about. Again, this is 8U. People go, oh, they don't need to learn that then. This is exactly when they need to be learning how to be part of a team. They've never been part of a team before, right? We wait till later in life to teach these team dynamics. And I think it's a mistake. It does not have to be, you don't have to be 15 to learn how to be a good teammate, to be accountable, to be on time, to speak with other coaches and members of the team, to keep a calendar. So those are the things I want to go through. Again, more from a parenting standpoint right now. But the first thing I want to tap on is accountability. All right. I've been hinting to my son. I want to make sure I'm not sitting my kid down and putting him through a classroom on this, but I've been hinting to my son, hey, you're part of a team. What are the things we need to do to be accountable to the team? Do you know what accountable means? I start asking him things like this. And guess what, parents? He has no problem having these conversations. He's actually very interested in it. Okay. I say, Logan, what does it mean to be a good teammate? I should be on time. That's right. What else? If my friends need something, I should help them. That's right. You'll be surprised how friendly your kid is, especially at the younger ages, and how much they know about being a good friend. Sesame Street actually worked, believe it or not. It's later in life we rid this from ourselves when puberty hits, so forth and so on. Another one too. Have you reached out to your coach yet or your team manager yet? I'm sure they've reached out to you. And if they haven't yet, why haven't they? But reach out to them. Introduce yourself. Hey, I'm Logan's dad. My name's Lee. We're really excited for the season. Anything we need to do to be prepared. Maybe have your kid get on the phone. I had my son go up to his coach, shake his hand, meet him. He's only 7. You're never too young to learn these things. And then the last thing before I jump to you guys is keep a good calendar. People are always asking me, guys, always, how do you do everything that you do? How do you manage all that? The key, I keep a really insanely good calendar. All right. I know where I am. I know where my wife is. I know what I have to do during the day. We know when practices are. We know who's doing what. We plan ahead. People go, that's easy for you. It's easy. I get sarcasm from it. It is that easy. It's just, you don't do it or you do it. It comes down to that, just sitting down for 20 minutes to set that up to save yourself 20 hours of pain and strife. But guys, I want to know from you too. Again, my kid's on the younger side. Your kids, Mike, are right in the middle of it. Christy, your kids are graduated. What type of mindset things did you do or wish you had done to get them ready for the season?
Yeah, I want to jump in here because, it's still fresh in my mind about the calendar. And we went old school on our calendar. We have a dry whiteboard that we put up in our kitchen where we are super busy. I mean, we're going all different kinds of directions. So we need to know where everybody is and what's coming up. That dry erase board it's big, and it's got the whole month laid out. So when you look at it, you know exactly where everybody is and what's coming up. It's old school, but it works. Totally. Because and we put it in the kitchen because that's what room gets the most traffic and everybody will walk by near the refrigerator. So it's one of those convenient locations. But even today I looked, I said, oh, we got this coming up. Sophia's got a scrimmage next week. So everybody is on the same page. So I love that idea. Calendar is a must. Make sure you invest in however you want to do it, whether you use it in an app or use it digital. We went old school with our dry erase board and picked it up at Staples for I think $7. It's great. And you just wipe it down every month. You get a fresh perspective on what's new.
That's a great point.
Mindset.
It's a great point. Hold on real quick, Christy, that, we used the whiteboard in my house too, growing up. It was a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Now I use iCal. I can coordinate everything, color coordinate it. I have my schedule, I have my wife's schedule. Just to your point, you got to find what works for you. If it's a whiteboard today, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's a digital device, there's nothing wrong with that. Just find what works for you. But for Pete's sake, have a calendar. I don't know how people do. I'll remind everybody here, Christy is a nightly news anchor. She's needed at work daily. She needs the calendar. All right. So just keep that in mind.
I can't live without my calendar. I would be lost without that mindset. That's a great point. And I always loved when our team put together team bonding right before the season, so the kids get to know each other with the pads off prior to the season. I think we had a great adventure. One of the coaches took them to a falls where they had to hike down from the top of the falls all the way down with a bucket of pucks, and each kid handed the bucket to the other kid, and they had to make it down without dropping any of the pucks by the time they got to the base of the falls, which was spectacular. That was a great event because they learned how to rely on each other. They got to know each other. They, helped each other up, climb down, climb up. It was a fantastic experience. So if you can think about some kind of activity that you can do with all the kids away from the ice, get them away from the rink, someplace where they can just be kids and get to know each other outside of the hockey arena, I would highly recommend that. My kids have always had great experiences and great memories from that. So
yeah. And Christy,
you done anything like that with your kids, Mike?
I was just gonna say, to build on this real quick before Mike jumps in, all we're doing with my team, keeping in mind it's an 8U team, is we're going to get them off the ice, and for 15 minutes, that's it. I'm going to put them through team building exercises outside until it gets cold, and then we'll just move them back inside the rink to do them in there. So it's 15 minutes a week can go really far. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, and I think that mindset and that the team bond and the ability to understand that you're pulling for each other and working for each other goes hand in hand with, I always include everyone. I include, especially at the youth hockey level, you have to include the parents in this. We do a hike up at West Point every year, and it's one parent has to attend. For some reason, it's always the moms. I don't know why, but they like the challenge. But we have to, same thing, Christy. We get up. We have a Colonel Hank Kersey, and he hikes the kids up the mountain. They got to carry a 30, 40, 50-pound rock. I think the Fleury kid, he carried like 150-pound rock or something like that when he went up there with the Penguins. But it's just one of those things where you start teaching selflessness, teamwork, dedication. The sad part is, I found over the years, I almost have to say, oh, we have a game on Saturday at 11 to 1. Can everybody commit to it? And I'll get everybody to commit. But then if I said, oh, well, it's going to be a team building exercise and there's no game, so we're going to go to this mountain, I'll always get excuses. Oh, it's a little far. It's Saturday. I forgot I had this other thing planned. And all I would say is it's the most important thing you can do for your team. Building those kids off the ice in a level playing field, in a place where some kids can become leaders that maybe aren't your best stick handler, aren't your best goalie, aren't your best shooter, skater. You just find out so much more about the kids and their mindset of where they want to be to help the team off the ice. And I think it's just the real equalizer. And yeah, I think there's no doubt that doing team building exercises, we have going back to the same thing as nutrition. There's so many resources out there to use and put the kids in a situation where you can do these workshops or contact a guy like Lee and say, hey, listen, I just want to do a 20-minute workshop with my kids. What can I do? And there's a million things you can do, and they're all better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I always love just sitting back, watching them. It's always so fun to watch the dynamic at work there, and just listening to the laughter. There's nothing more joyous than a bunch of kids getting together, having a ball, and just enjoying each other.
There is one thing we started doing too, is and it seems like a really crazy thing, right? But or time consuming, to Lee's point, right? Oh, time for a calendar. Oh, what do you got all the time in the world? No, like I have all the time in the world because I have a calendar.
Exactly.
But having a team mission statement, even if it's 10 words, 8 words, 4 words, we strive to be better. Whatever. But everybody contributes to that. That's part of the mindset that you can keep going back and remembering. Remember what we talked about in August. Remember what we talked about in September.
Right.
Remember what we talked about in October. And one of the things I say as far as a mindset part to my parents is don't come to me in April and tell me how bad September was. Tell me how bad September is in September. And let's have a conversation about, because these are kids. They're not late. They're with their parents. They're in a car, right? Let's all work together. You know your kids better than I do. I don't live with them. So you're with them all the time. The mindset has to be, we're all working together. When I speak to your child, I'm speaking to you, and vice versa. When you're speaking to your child in a lot of ways, right? As a hockey parent, you're speaking to me because I'm going to hear it from your child. So just be aware of that I think that all goes into mindset and preparing for the season and coming in with not a positive attitude, but a cohesive attitude.
Right. And look, I'll add this, a few notes. Look, any coach at the highest levels worth their salt is going to tell you that it's not just about the skill sets. It's about the type of person that kid is. All right. Now, don't get me wrong. Skill sets are very important. I'm not denouncing skill sets in the face of team building. My point is they're equally as important. So, and Mike, you talked about this. There is a little bit of a stigma behind mental health when it comes to this stuff. So you'll come to the skills practice, but you won't come to the team building practice. Is really a lot of what you need to know right there. They are equally as important. Developing your child into an upstanding teammate, person of society, whatever you want to say, I would argue is even more important than the sport, whatever sport you're playing, right? But they go hand in hand. Every coach at the high levels, remember, if your kid gets to a high level, they're going to have the skill. Every coach I know talks about the type of person they are, the type of teammate they are, and how they fit in the team system. It is so important that you do this with your teams, and you do not have to wait until your kid's 15 to start teaching this. It can start as young as 5. All right. You can start teaching the basic concepts of working in a team. By the way, folks, all of us work in teams always. That's the whole point. At home, at work, and a team itself. Doesn't matter. You're working with other people. That's a team environment. Mike, you brought up a great point.
It's funny though, too, Lee. It's funny because the kids that always miss the team building and the ones are the ones that need it the most.
Absolutely.
The ones that the ones that are always the ones missing it or find an excuse not to be there,
right,
are the ones where you know, write it down. I'm going to see you in October, or I'm going to see you in April, and you're going to be the reason why we couldn't succeed.
Right.
I know it already because you're the one that's not taking this as part of what it is to grow and develop and be a teammate.
You see, that's why I'm running my team stuff right after practice, because then they have no excuse not to be there.
Right. And don't forget, parents, all the rest of the kids on the team are going to be talking about their experience that they had, that team bonding experience, and your kid wasn't there. They're going to feel pretty left out. So think about that too.
Yeah. And look, I will say, look, there are legit reasons you have to be home. You have to do something. I understand that. We're talking about I don't feel like it reason. Like, I don't want to do it reason. That's the reasons we're talking about. Everyone's situation.
Or it's not important. It's not important to me.
Yeah.
If coming to practice on a Monday night at 8:00 to work on stick handling is more important than being a good teammate and learning how to work with your peers, then it doesn't help you anyway.
We're missing the point at that point.
The Monday night's not helping you anyway.
Right.
So
Mike, you alluded to this before,
and
I'm going to get into it. The last topic we're going to talk about, and we thank you all for listening to this episode. We hope you're getting a lot of value out of it, is expectations. Now, this one is a little bit split depending on how old your kid is. All right. For example, when it comes to being 15 or up, I do think coaches, specifically coaches, but parents, you can do this too, should be sitting down with their kid and saying, hey, what are your goals for the season? What do you want to do goal-wise, assist-wise, or as a defenseman, plus minus? What do you want to achieve this season? In a non-judgmental way. They're not numbers you have to meet. They're just goal setting. I would not sit down with my 7-year-old right now, like, how many goals do you want to get this season, right? My attitude is, at the younger ages, the expectations to have fun and to enjoy it, but set that with your kid. All right. Again, I'm talking the younger ages right now. Parents, you might be surprised how much pressure your kid feels they're under to impress you, to impress the other kids at the younger ages. So it's never bad to reinforce, just have fun out there. All right. I remember my son was asking me even last year in Adams, like, I'm going to get 10 goals today. He would say things like that, which is fine. I'm not against that. It's fun. I said, hey, Logan, that's great. Hey, listen, man, as long as you have fun, that's what's important to me today. I'm going to love you no matter what happens out there today. And I usually get, okay, Dad, he's young. All right. And as you get older, it could be, hey, what do you want to work on? You don't need to know how many goals a 9-year-old's going to get, but maybe, hey, what do you want to work on today? Oh, I want to get a better wrist shot. That's a great goal. All right. Again, things we don't do at a young age, goal setting. Start planning ahead now for the messages you want to do for the year. Some of this is on your coach, but it's also on you as a parent, in my opinion, to sit down with your kids to set those goals. All right. Now, again, if you're going to the older ages, again, 14, 15, 16, 17, you should get a little bit more specific with these things. It's great life lessons for moving forward into college. Again, coaches should be doing this. Just to give everybody context, at the pro level, I have every player sit down with a coach and be very specific. How many goals, how many assists, plus, minus, keeping in mind that stat goes up and down depending on what kind of team you're on. What motivates you? What demotivates you? Right? I ask very specific questions of each individual player because I want to know these things as a coach. Again, if you don't know what motivates your players, how are you going to motivate them? I mean, it's kind of an obvious one. And then from a team aspect, Mike, you talked about this too. What do we want to accomplish as a group this year? How far do we think we can go this year? Let's define the word trust to this team. Major common misconception is that everybody has the same definition of the word trust. Just to get deep for a quick second, I learned this. I was coaching inner city football in Philadelphia. Murder is a very realistic possibility every single year for these kids. In fact, every year I was there, one of the kids on the team got killed. Every single year. What do you think trust means to them, as opposed to a kid in the suburbs who's never had to experience that? When you get a group of kids together, whether it's 10 or 20, they all have a different understanding of what that word means, different upbringings, different parents. Make a communal understanding of what the word trust means with your team. It's very important. That's your starting point, and most teams do not do it. Now, with that said, not trying to get too serious, coming back to the happily here, everybody come back with me. All right. Goal setting for teams and individuals, something you can do at every age. Start setting expectations. We're starting here. Where do you want to be at the end of the season? Son, daughter, anybody. Now, this is the time to do that. And Mike said, you don't want to do that in January. There's a month left. What do you want to do? So, Mike, I'm going to jump to you first, then Christie. Mike, team expectations. Why don't you do it from a little bit of a coaching standpoint too? Because I'm not sure how many coaches jump into this at this time of the year.
Yeah, so I think honestly, I think the younger you can start this, I think for small little goals. Like if I have an 8U team, my team, my 10U squirt team, my goals maybe we just have 3 little goals that we have for the kids every day, and we're in the locker room or in the team meeting room or in an air, at the barbecue preseason with the parents. And mom and dad write down those team goals with the kid. Right. And it could be simple things. I want to find out, 10 things about every one of my teammates. I want to, all the little simple things that forces them to communicate. I mean, we're dealing with a generation of kids that don't communicate to begin with. So we've got to, if you could be a coach that mentors that, great. But don't also think that, you're only with those kids for a short period of time. I mean, you can't change their whole perspective on life if mom and dad aren't on the same page as you. So just include the parents, or whoever's bringing the kids to the rink every day. Include them in that process of what the expectations are, what the goals are. If I have an older, like I know for us digitally, it's great. I could send out a survey through Google, and I can do a whole questionnaire, and I could ask even stupid things. Like my son gets all mad at me when I ask the kids, what's your favorite song? This is my favorite song, by Gas Monkey, or I don't even know the names of these bands, but whatever.
Metallica.
I know Dwight Yoakam. That's about it.
Yeah.
But whoever it is, right? It's just like, I want to know your favorite music. I want to know what else you like to do. I want to know, do you play the guitar? Do I want to know what you do outside of hockey? Because most of the kids that I'm working with, they're not going to go pro. They're not going to play college hockey. But they all dream about being the best people and players they can be. Well, let me find out what more you can add. Because one of the things I always say to the older kids, 14, 15, 16 years old, you're going to lean on these, in my case, men for the rest of your life, probably. I mean, you're probably going to be, there's going to be at college, you're going to meet people that you're going to know the rest of your life. So find out who they are and what they do and what you can do to help them and what they can do to help you outside of hockey. Right. And I think that's where that common bond becomes. And I think all that has to happen from the leader, in this case, the coach of your hockey team, spearheading those conversations and those opportunities for kids to connect.
Christie, what are your thoughts on this one? Because it all makes sense. It's all about part of a team.
Yeah, I think coaches do have an important role in taking the lead and setting the expectations for the team and meeting individually with each player. and asking them, what is it that you want to work on? Have those conversations. I never really was involved in the goal setting for my kids because they always set their own goals.
Oh, you were involved in
And,
that, whether you realize
I
it or
would sit
not. You were heavily involved in that. I can tell you that right now. Just knowing you, Christie.
I don't know. I know one year Sophia really wanted to work on her, I don't know, backhand shot or passing, and I'm like, oh,
Right.
go for it.
I can't for the life of me figure out where she found
by the end of the
inspiration
year,
from a strong woman in her life. I don't know where that would have came from.
I never really got involved in the goal setting. I just,
Right.
made sure they were there when they needed to be there. Made sure they had all the support and the love that was needed to have a great season. But as far as all the goal setting and all that, I left that up to the coaches.
And I think this is another opportunity too to understand your limitations as a coach. If you're not good at that, if you're not in the comfort level, it's the same thing as finding that nutritionist, finding that team builder, finding that, go out and find the resources that are out there that if you're not capable of doing it, if you're not a goaltending instructor and you're not going to teach the goaltenders, and find somebody or learn as much as you can, but then pass it off to the people that can do this. If you're not a nutritionist, don't start talking about nutrition when you have a professional nutritionist on the team. So I think, don't Google, how to have good nutrition. Get a good nutritionist and help and the same thing as team building. Same thing as, communication aspects with your teams. Find people within your own circles, within your own organization, doesn't even have to be on your team, and utilize them. Because more than not, what I found is everyone wants to help. And it's funny with sports and hockey is there's so many, they want to be there. They're in the stands like, oh, please just ask me to do something. Well, I'm not going to put you on the bench. So I can't you can't do that, but can you do this? More times than not, I've never been in an organization or on a team any given year that didn't have multiple people that could do multiple things much better than me. Just got to ask them.
That's being part of a team as well, is finding people to fill the gaps in. And look, the coaching staff is a team. The parents are a team. Hopefully the kids are a team.
Right.
All right. There are teams within teams. And again, the more I'm on a mission myself to prove this, the more we can use teamwork and trust, the faster things are going to move.
Right. I've always said it takes a team to run a team, and step up where you can to help your team out. But I would encourage parents to perhaps bite their tongue a little bit more this season, because nothing drags a team down faster than all the negative comments, and especially in front of the kids. Don't, take it out where they can't hear it. Take it out of
our episode about the 24-hour rule.
Chances are they're going to repeat.
Right.
Yeah, and they're going to repeat what they heard you say to their teammates, and it just drags everybody down. So
especially after the last year,
that positive spirit, especially around
Christie, especially after the last year. Take a breath before you talk this year. Everybody's ready to go.
Yeah.
Please,
Mike, did you have something to say?
Yeah.
No, I agree. Listen, I think if you go back to the theme of a lot of our episodes and all our conversations that we always have, really fall back to, in my opinion, very common sense things.
Right.
Don't badmouth your teacher in front of your kid. Don't badmouth your coach in front of your kid. Have a conversation in a civil environment. Plan ahead. Do things. Do things that a normal human being would think about first, and then execute that. And I think it's in the preparation for the season, it's about maybe writing all that down and saying, okay, because we all don't just play hockey. There's other things that actually happen that come along the way, in September. It's not like, oh, it's hockey season, so everything else ends. So think about where you're going to prepare. Talk to your coaches about the fact that your son or daughter is a tremendous soccer player, or a great football player, or is in the glee club or on the debate team. Communicate all that. So when this person says, oh, we have practice. Oh, by the way, you know what the greatest thing in the world is? We're going to have practice every day for 4 hours. And the parents are like, are you crazy? I said, this guy's nuts, because maybe that's all he does or she does. Like, find out what these people do, communicate to your coaches, set the expectations, and then, hopefully you've joined the right team to begin with.
And this is what I'll say in closing. On top of all of that, make sure to listen to Our Kids Play Hockey. It's a great podcast and a great show. No, seriously. Look, this is one thing I do want to say to everybody listening. If you're listening to this show, I think you're proactive parent, proactive coach. We've got nothing but compliments from this show. But if this is a little bit of an eye roller for you, the stuff we're talking about now with mental health and stuff, you should know there is a stigma surrounding mental health and mental fitness, and that is starting to turn finally. All right. These are important aspects to being a productive, not just member of society, but a teammate, a good person, right? And youth sports specifically is probably the greatest catalyst, the greatest place, conduit to teach these things. If you're not doing that as a coach and parent, in my opinion, you're really missing an opportunity, right? That's what it's all about. Any closing thoughts before I do my swooping close to this episode?
No.
Let's just have a great season, everybody. I missed it so much. I hope you feel as excited about the season as I do. I cannot
I'll tell you
wait.
this. I'm excited because about 95% of our episodes have been done during the pandemic. So I'm actually looking forward to having some stories to tell this season with my hockey kid. But look, that's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. If you enjoy this, make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you tell your friends about it. Make sure you help us grow the show, like, favorite, share, whatever you got to do. And obviously, you can check out all the episodes, especially the ones we referenced today, on ourkidsplayhockey.com or wherever podcasts can be heard, or you can watch us on YouTube and Facebook. For Christie Casciano-Burns and Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. Thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we will see you next week. Have fun getting ready, everybody. Take care.